President.
The Senator from Washington.
Mr. President, I rise today to join my colleague from Massachusetts who's been a leader on this important issue of net neutrality. I want to speak backing up what he has said today about why it is so important that we need to fight to protect a free and open internet. But before I do, I would just like to mention that yesterday we filed a bill dealing with trade enforcement. The reason I bring that up is because today there's going to be a lot of discussion about trade writ large, and it's very important that in the trade discussion that we also have trade enforcement. So much of what we filed yesterday is what we hope to see in an agreement that is now being unveiled, and this builds on capacity building that is very important. That is to make sure that we have the enforcement capabilities at USTR, and now the capacity and enforcement in Mexico to make these agreements work for the future. So I look forward to discussing that with my colleagues. But I'm really here to talk about how 2 years ago the Trump administration, basically with the FCC at the helm, repealed net neutrality and put big cable in charge of our internet future. Despite 83% of all Americans and a majority of independents, Democrats, and Republicans supporting a free and open internet, that means making sure that they weren't charged excessive rates, the FCC chose to side with cable companies, and not long after, Verizon throttled broadband service of Santa Clara County firefighters in California when they were in the midst of fighting a massive Mendocino complex fire in 2018. Despite firefighters' urgent pleas to stop the throttling, Verizon refused to do so. Now, for those who don't understand what throttling is, we are always concerned that without rules of the road, that companies would slow down some access to internet sites. Why is this so important? Because we don't want an internet where it's based on how much you will pay, how fast the broadband access. We think that to slow down important sites like public service sites or any sites, or base an internet on how much you pay, is the wrong direction. So more importantly, we need to make sure that we are policing this. So even today, as we have no federal agency with clear authority to adopt hard and fast rules to keep this situation from happening again, we need to keep fighting to say. Another example, wireless carriers have been accused of potentially throttling subscribers to Netflix, YouTube, and Sprint, and allegedly interfering with competitive Skype services. So again, another example of why we have to keep our message about a free and open internet, no matter where we live or where we're accessing the internet. It is long past time for the Senate to vote on Save the Internet Act, something our colleague from Massachusetts has been a leader on. Our bill would restore the protections for a free and open internet by the Obama FCC in 2015, which would say no blocking, throttling, or paid prioritization to be allowed. The FCC would have the flexible legal standards by which to address concerns that arise from these big cable company threats and a threat to the free and open internet. So again, I thank the Senator from Massachusetts for his leadership, persistent both in the House and the Senate, on how important this is. As my colleagues know, these issues are going to be very important issues for the future, not just about privacy that the Senator has also been a leader on, and I very much appreciate that the hometown newspaper wrote a glowing endorsement of the legislation you and I have just recently introduced on privacy. But in understanding that in an information age, you have to give consumers rights. You have to give them the right to privacy, and you have to give them the right to a free and open internet that is not controlled on speed, that is not controlled in saying if you pay us more, we'll give you the access. This is going to be a key communication tool for the 21st century, and it needs to be open. So I thank my colleague for raising this important issue, and I continue to work with him and our other colleagues to make it the law of the land. I thank the President, and I yield.
Mr. President.